The episode I ran last week was definitely the biggest one yet, but people are just beginning to hear the story of Trish Halverson. In one sense, I wanted to get the story to the world, but one of the most important parts of that story is just what a terrific person she is. I'm sure that many people can't stand to hear me say that, but just take some time and listen to her and the situation she's in now. I'm proud to call her my friend. Many people are angry that I would have defended her at all. They rely on facts that are not facts. Many reported by the media and then act as if I'm crazy when I dared to correct them when I was actually there. They talk about the many stories that Trish told, but I will continue to tell her story. I've also had people reach out to me to help her, and I will be putting together the finishing touches on all of that this week. Until then, enjoy the nice weather and visit the website dalewiley.com to learn more. All right.
No paper money, nothing in your pockets?
Oh, I just about
Car keys?
So,
Alright.
all that stuff, and where did I keep it? Here it is. No, I have no coins. I totally remember that. So, here we are. So, how are you doing?
Good.
Seems like normal day.
Yeah.
All right, so.
Well, they moved me from one house to another,
Okay.
and they call it the Dirty Nickel.
Okay.
It's 5 house.
They have very interesting names.
Yeah, and the reason they call it the Dirty Nickel is because there's a lot of crazy things that go on there, dirty things, and the house is dirty. I mean, a lot of people are in there for 5 years or under, you know,
5 years or under.
or under.
Okay, now why?
I have no clue. There's a couple of lifers in there, but I think I could be moved anytime. That's one thing they tell you not to do is get comfortable in prison because they can move you anytime.
Right.
When I got in there, I guess it's been following me for a while, but supposedly I'm a CI, which is a...
Okay, now again, this is where we want to stay away from. You're not a confidential
No,
informant.
I'm not.
Okay.
Not even
Never
close. I didn't even know what it was until somebody, I asked them what a CI was. And they told me that it meant a confidential informant. And I asked them why they would think that, and of course, because I was married to a police officer. And a lot of these women up here, my ex-doc used to be a transporter.
Right.
So they all, basically most of them know him from that area that I'm from. So I guess he spoke to many of them, telling them, what happened, things like that, giving them an earful before he gets them, dropped off here at prison.
Really?
Or over into Vandalia. Oh yes. So.
So he's telling them that you're a CI?
No, he's telling them what happened.
Right. I'm sure it's a very interesting set of facts.
And I mean, they don't share a whole lot of the story because he's a cop. You know.
Yeah.
They don't like cops.
Right.
These women in here, that's the last thing they want to see is a cop. But yeah, they said that's how I got my whatever name is a CI. Because they assumed that I was put here, and this would be the last place I'd want to be put if I was a confidential informant.
Gosh,
would be a prison.
Right.
But it's kind of made it very awkward adjusting to the house that I'm in.
Okay. Was your move to the 5 house, was that because they think you're a CI?
No, they need more rooms. They move people twice a week because they bring people from Vandalia to here if they're from this part of the state.
The western part of the state.
Right, where Vandalia is more for getting them through the R&O, which is rehabilitation, and I'm not. So many different people call the O different things.
Right.
So they take and they distribute out the women all over the different prison, and then if they're in a treatment, if they're from that area, Vandalia area, St. Louis, all that, they stay there. If they're from Kansas City, south down to the state line, Springfield, Branson, places like that, then they come to here, and they serve their treatment time or their time. But they have people here from St. Louis already, so I think they're running out of. There's like 2,300 women here.
Okay.
So.
Now, just tell me what's going on here. Tell me. So let's stay on the 5 house. So tell me, what does that change mean to you?
Getting used to new roommates. Of course, I was used to the other ones because I'd been in there for almost 3 weeks. So change is hard.
Right.
And I have 4 new roommates, and they all have their own personalities. So, and then of course you have all the people in the different wing that are all have their own personalities. And I was used to everybody in 4 house.
Right.
Who you could be with around and who you didn't want to be around.
Right.
That created a lot of problems or drama or whatever. But this wing is loud. You can't even sit out in the day room because it is so loud. Yeah.
Why is it so loud?
They're always yelling and screaming at each other, threatening each other, beat each other's butts. That's a pleasant way of putting it. We have a lot of different charges in there, whether it's has to do with children or has to do with their husbands or their boyfriends or drugs or whatever.
Well, how are the charges different?
The charges, there's the ones with the children, whether it's, they've done things to children or have been involved with something that has happened to a child.
Okay. So like
Rape,
pimping the kids out and
rape, sodomy, molestation, things like that. I actually was interfaced with one this morning because they have a handicapped shower. I take my showers every morning because I work every morning. So, and I was like, I know that I had an appointment today, and she got in front of me and she threatened me. And I'm like, well, you're not handicapped, so you're using the handicapped shower. And of course, everybody come out and started calling her all kinds of different names and stuff like that. So I guess she is a problem in that particular wing. So if they become problems, they'll move them.
And who's that?
I don't know her name. I really don't.
And so what is she in there for?
Child, they call her a chomo, child molestation, or she let it happen to a child or something to that effect.
Is that more of the thing? I mean, what's kind of the standing thing about the women that are abusing kids?
It's more or less they've been involved into the situation, and they get so much out of a sentence, whether, they usually take plea bargains and stuff, but it's usually their boyfriends or their husbands or their ex-husbands or their fathers or father-in-laws or somebody in their family. It's so far that everybody that I've come into contact with, it's somebody in their family that has done this to a child.
Right.
And then they've either known about it and hid it, or they involve themselves in the situation. So they're in here, anywhere from, 6 months to 15 years. So it's a lot different. And of course, I have a disability.
Right.
And this morning they had to go get supplies, and of course they want me to walk all the way over there and carry boxes of toilet paper back. And I think there's like 100 rolls of toilet paper in these boxes. And of course I told him, I said, well, I have to go get my cane because I was, going to go to work.
Right.
Because you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It's either that or you get fired,
Right.
just like out on the streets.
Right.
So, and you get paid $8.50 an hour, $8.50 a month. And that's only because I have my high school diploma. If I didn't have my high school diploma or an equivalent to that, you get paid less because they want you to go to school. So, but yeah.
And so, what is the situation as far as what education are you thinking about doing? You were talking about mentoring and stuff.
I want to be a tutor. I've put in another kite, which the reason they call those kites is because you write it on a piece of paper, you sign it, you put your name on there, and put the name of who you want this letter to go to, and you put it in a mailbox out there in your house, and it flies to whoever it needs to go to. So they call it a kite. And I'm hoping I put in another kite Friday, and I've already put my application in on being a tutor. When I got moved, initially I thought that I'd already got the job because normally they don't move you from house to house if you're a hall tender. That's usually you're permanent on the house for as long as, until you do a job change or something. So I was assuming that I was going to become a tutor, but no, then that night I got a letter saying that I become a hall tender from 7 to 3, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Every day, 5 days a week. You get 2 days off, just like normal anybody else.
Right. And so, what will you do as a hall tender?
You have to sweep and mop and wipe everything down, with solutions. You got to clean the toilets, stock toilet paper, scrub showers, grout. The grout has to be scrubbed, which is how I got the busted lip the last time because I was trying to scrub that and it popped me in the mouth. Right. But it's just basically you're cleaning your wing.
And is that a pretty good job?
Well, it'd be pretty good if I was able to do more of that job, but as it is, I'm kind of limited in what I can do. Like mopping and sweeping and things like that, I can do small areas, but large areas is a little more difficult because there's a lot of walking and stuff that pertains to that.
Well, so as far as like, what are you, ultimately what job would you like to do? What would be a better job for you?
Well, I would like to be a tutor. You
Okay,
get paid by
that's
the
a
state.
job.
Yes, it's a paid by the state job.
Okay.
It's not much, but I'm not really here for the pay. I'm here to keep myself preoccupied, and I know that I can help these girls.
Yeah.
I actually helped one girl in House. In 2 weeks, I brought her scale from a 5, which is a really bad scale, 1 to 5. 1 being really good, 5 being not so good. I brought her scale from a 5 to a 2 in 2 weeks on her math. Just getting, because their anxiety, they mess with their medications and stuff here so much that they'll take them off of them for a while, and then they'll put them back on something. So when they are taken off of their medications for their mental health, it really puts a bind in their everyday dealing with things. So one day they may be on top of the world, the next day they may be down in the dirt. And it's an emotional roller coaster for them. And they had taken this girl off of her anxiety medication and her, dealing with just life in general. When she was on drugs, she didn't need those medications because she could deal with everything. But while she's in here, she needs them to help balance her out to deal with life so she can be a member of society.
Right.
She gets out in July. She's scared to death because she knows that she's going to go right back into that scene. So I've been trying to help her, and it's succeeding.
Do you get to see her now that you're in different houses?
No, unless we go out on the yard.
Okay.
See, before I could help her right there in the pod, in the wing. We call it a wing. And she could focus more because I would channel her anxiety into what she was doing on paper.
Right.
And I would bring people around and try and talk to her and stuff like that. And I'm like, you've got to focus. You've got to focus. And she was doing really good. And now, if I see her out there in the yard, she's very confused about how to do things. She's not grasping how to do basic math.
Well, tell me about that. What math? So in other words, when you say you were able to bring her up that quick, the anxiety thing, she just wasn't able to, what kind of, give an example of the problems that she's having trouble with.
5 plus 5.
Really?
6 plus 6. 1 plus 0. 1 minus 0. I had her all the way up into the thousands on subtraction in 2 weeks because I showed her how to check her work, and she was so proud of herself. She did numerous pages by herself because I would get up and I'd walk away so that I could see how she could focus on it. Yeah. And she started channeling all that into her brain, and she was absorbing it, and she was learning that she was doing it by herself. And then I'm gone, and now she's in a different kind of probably multiplication or something like that. So what she needs is help focusing on what she needs to do to get started on it, and then go from there. But yeah, I had her up there where she needed to be, and the teacher was just amazed at how much progress she had made in just a couple of weeks. And I was too, and so was everybody else in the whole wing. Because they see this, and she's not very old. She might be late 20s, early 30s, but she has the mind capacity of maybe a 12 or 14-year-old because of the drugs, the abuse that she, what occurred while she was growing up. I mean, most of these girls don't tell you their stories. If they feel like they can trust you or have, a little faith in you, or you brought them out of their shell a little bit, you get more out of them. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. Everybody has a story, and their stories are not mine to really tell, but I try to help them, because without their medications, they're just here. They're like zombies. It's not a rehabilitation. It actually teaches them how to get away with more. We were all discussing that over the weekend. And I was like, if you want to learn how to lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, and everything else, you need to go to prison. Because since I've been here, you can learn everything in that category and learn how to make meth, grow weed, 15 different kinds of weed. I mean, everything. You can learn it within a 48-hour period.
Well, when you say make meth, are people making meth inside here?
No, it's just the ones that have been caught doing it. And they can tell you exactly, they're so proud of what they've accomplished over the years. I was the best meth maker in my whole county, I could sell it and have thousands and thousands of dollars, but yet they couldn't pay their books, because most of these women in here owe a lot of money on their books. And that's because they have been on parole and probation before. You got to pay to be on that every month. It's anywhere from $30 to $60. They couldn't pay that, but yet they could pay for groceries, or they could pay for a brand new car, or they could, or whatever. To be actual members of society and have an actual job or anything like that, most of these women will never go back to that because there's no money in it. And they're not getting any state aid, any state help. They're not being shown how to be members of society in here. They have to go to school to get their GEDs, which that's great if they're going to use them when they get out. But most of them aren't in here long enough to actually get their GEDs. So when they get out, they have to continue that education, and it costs them.
What do you mean it costs them?
It costs them, so much to go to class. It costs them so much to take the test. Tutors, things like that. Just the same way with the mental health classes. All the mental health classes in here are free, but if you're out on the streets and you're having to go through them, that's $400 a class. Like special victims, like if you have to go in and if you're a drunk driver, you were a drunk driver or whatever, and you have to watch the movies of how people were killed by drunk drivers and listen to family members, and it's $400 to sit in there. Yes.
A smart woman like you've been sitting here now a month, more than a month. What would you change about the system? What would you do differently?
Well, there's been a lot of things that I've thought about, especially with the education and stuff. I try to get them, in there a little faster so that they can actually get some kind of basic education. So when they do get out in the real world and they have to become, into jobs and stuff, they'll have a basic, and then they can continue their education and finish it. Because right now these women don't even know what 1 + 1 means, or 2 × 2 or anything like that. They have no clue. They don't know how to read. I mean, the only numbers they know is their DOC numbers.
And so, is it the drugs that's making them unable to read? Is it the bad educational system? What is it?
I think it was, most of these women have been in foster homes, so they've been bounced around. They've not really gotten a good education. They went about and ended up with, doing all the drugs and stuff, and
Right.
they didn't have to focus on that. Now, some of the women, they're intelligent. They're the ones that dealed the drugs. When you're dealing, they said you have to know how to do math.
Right.
So they're the ones that, are educated.
Right.
They most of those already have their education. Then you have the ones that are actually the ones that did the drugs.
Right.
And if they have a bad tooth or something, from the drugs or whatever, it takes 6 months to get a tooth pulled here. So, they're in pain all the time. They need their medications. They go to sick call all the time. It takes you hours to get into sick call.
Trish told me about one of her friends in prison, and true to her word, the friend did write me.
We'll
What I
get
want
that
you
out
to
today.
do, because I still haven't gotten a letter from our ballerina lady either.
She mailed it out Friday.
Okay, well, that's cool.
Thursday,
I'm
Friday?
just trying to stay on
Yes,
top.
but yes, and she definitely did nail that out to you.
Okay, well,
She was
cool.
so excited.
Well, good. All right.
And her name is Ashley Bennett. She said she didn't mind for me to say her
Okay,
name.
well, good.
Her name is Ashley Bennett.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to meeting with Ashley, although I will have to say that I have almost no idea what her case is about. I may tell you more about that case next week. Until then, enjoy the holiday and visit DaleWiley.com.